Smile. I know you're watching. Mike, Rock would say quietly to the lens. I can see you. And eventually, I'm going to see you through a different kind of glass. He was adding fuel to the fire. He wanted Michael to stay awake. He wanted him to use more meth to stay alert. He wanted him to make a mistake. Chapter 4: The Cracking of the Mirror. The mistake finally came on July 31st, 2002. Michael was exhausted. Even the meth couldn't bridge the gap between his perceived divinity and his physical limits. He was sloppy. He went into a bank, attempting to use an ID for a man named Benjamin Bryce Taiwan Kim. The ID was a rush job. The photo was slightly misaligned, the laminate too thick. Worse, he used a check from an account that had already been flagged by Detective Rock's task force. The teller didn't smile. She didn't hand over the cash. She looked at the screen, then at Michael, then back at the screen. She hit the silent alarm. Michael didn't run. Maybe the paranoia had finally turned into a weird kind of fatalism. When the police swarmed the lobby, they found a man who had been living in a world of paper and mirrors for too long. He looked smaller in person, frail, gray, and haunted. He was sentenced to 10 years under Colorado's organized crime statutes. Tammy Carroll's fall was more tragic. In the courtroom, the judge didn't see a criminal mastermind. He saw a mother who had traded her soul for a chemical. "You're a drug addict," the judge told her, his voice heavy with a mix of disgust and pity. "And as long as you are a danger to your children. I don't ever want to see them in your care again." Her youngest child was placed for adoption. Her 3 older children were scattered into the foster care system. It was a sentence that shattered Tammy more than any prison wall could. It was the moment the shadows finally evaporated, leaving her alone in the cold, harsh light of a life she no longer recognized. Chapter 5: The Digital Vultures. Years passed, but the crime didn't die. It didn't even slow down. It just evolved, shedding its paper skin for a digital one. Anita Jans lived in the new age of identity theft. She didn't have to worry about someone stealing her mail. She had to worry about someone stealing the air around her computer. In September 2005, Anita was on the phone with a mortgage broker trying to refinance her home. "I see you have more than one mortgage," the broker said. "No," Anita replied, "just the one." "Well, Anita, according to your credit report, you have nearly $1 million in properties in your name across 3 different counties." The panic that follows identity theft isn't a single wave. It's a tide that rises until you can't breathe. Someone had used a file-sharing program called LimeWire to crawl into Anita's unsecured computer. They hadn't just taken her social security number, they had taken her life. The thief was Kimberly Merritt. Merritt was a new breed of predator. She didn't need a basement full of printers. She just needed a laptop and an open Wi-Fi connection. She was a memetic thief. She memorized identities. She became other people. She purchased vehicles, opened lines of credit, and bought cell phones while Uneated Jans was at work, thinking her world was secure. CBI agents Kirsten Gregg and Danya Davis were the hunters now. They tracked Merritt to an RV in the desolate plains outside Denver. It was a bleak, dusty place, far from the affluent neighborhoods Merritt had been looting. Inside the RV, the agents found a microcosm of the modern crime. Loan applications were piled next to half-eaten food. Social Security numbers were scrawled on the backs of receipts. And right in the center of the mess sat a crack pipe and a small baggie of suspected methamphetamine. The drugs, they make it easier, Merritt would tell them, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. I fight the temptation, but then I see the numbers, and I know I can be someone else. I can be someone who isn't me. As the handcuffs clicked, she looked at the agents and whispered the mantra of the Denver underground. It's the drugs. The drugs made me do it. Chapter 6, The Ethical Thief. While the police fought the addicts, corporations began to hire a different kind of thief. Jim Stickley was a man who stole for a living, but he did it with a contract. He was the owner of Trace Security, and his job was to show people how easily they could be erased. His favorite tactic was the fire inspector ruse. He would put on a generic navy blue shirt, pin on a fake badge that said fire inspection, and walk into a bank with an empty black bag. I'm here for the routine inspection, he'd say with a friendly, professional smile. 9 times out of 10, the employees would hand him the keys to the kingdom. He'd walk straight to the server room, the heart of the bank's identity. He'd steal the backup tapes containing every customer's name, address, social security number, and account balance. He'd walk out the front door, nodding to the security guard on his way out. It's almost a surprise when we get caught, Stickley would say later, showing his loot to horrified bank executives. I'm not silver-tongued. I'm just an average guy. That's all it takes to steal 1,000 lives. Chapter 7, The Ghost of Wheaton. While Colorado was dealing with the frantic, chemical crimes of addicts, Illinois was being haunted by a professional. Wheaton was a town of manicured lawns and quiet Sundays. It was a place where people felt safe. But since 2002, a shadow had been moving through the early morning mist. They called him the Wheaton Bandit. He wasn't a meth addict. He didn't leave messy trails of paper or scrawled numbers. He was tactical. He was precise. He was a ghost with a handgun. His routine was a master class in terror. He would arrive before the sun, hiding in the dense bushes near the bank entrance. He would watch the tellers arrive, noting their patterns, their fear, their habits. As they stood at the door, keys in hand, he would emerge like a phantom. He didn't scream, he commanded. He wore a balaclava, a tactical hood used by SWAT teams. He wore body armor under his coat, a detail that suggested he was prepared to exchange gunfire. He carried a semi-automatic handgun, but he didn't point it wildly. He indexed the weapon, keeping his finger along the slide, not the trigger. He has very striking blue eyes. One teller, John England, recalled. Cold, like ice. You couldn't look at him without feeling like you were looking at death. Jonna had been a teller for 17 years.